Cuban dissenter was raided live on TV by state police during an interview. What the fuck?
12 months.
Insane. Cuban influencer and regime critic Dina Starr's home is raided by police in the middle of a live interview with a Spanish TV network.
Estamos viendo por lo menos a ella a ver qué ha pasado. Dina, vale.
Bro, did she get swatted?
Escucha.
Sí, Dina.
A ver, me llevan para Zapata y Zen, en vivo desde España. Hago responsable al gobierno de cualquier cosa que me pueda pasar.
No, en vivo.
En vivo.
En vivo. Había entendido mal, perdón. Que están...
Yo hago responsable al gobierno de cualquier cosa que me pueda pasar.
Swatted, but instead it's a
Dina,
Cuban death squad?
Dina.
That's the funny thing. It's like, bro, this shit happens in America too. You know that, right? Like, not for political dissidents in the same degree, but what do you mean? Like, why is it all of a sudden a Cuban death squad when it's in fucking Cuba? Also, is she in Cuba or is she in Spain?
Sí, te van a detener en...
Like, also, what death squad allows you to fucking finish your interview? Like, I don't understand.
Te van a
No
detener...
lo sé, me dijeron que lo No lo sé, me dijeron que los acompañaron.
Vas tú sola.
No, bueno, sí. Mis amigos irán detrás.
Los amigos irán. Bueno, pues...
Me tengo que ir.
Ven,
Bye, un
intentar
placer.
ponernos... Queda grabado contacto con... queremos saber qué ocurre mañana, si podemos hablar contigo otra vez. Bueno, se ha cortado ese Skype. Yo no sé si... Yo me imagino, si no nos está viendo nadie de exteriores, pues... que alguien, no sé, intentaremos ponernos en contacto porque esto que estamos viviendo en directo es absolutamente...
Caption says she's in Havana. Oh, okay. Do you speak Spanish or just listening to chat? I 100% do not speak Spanish, and I am absolutely listening to chat. What does she say? Good luck with your police raid?
Inédito en televisión, yo no lo había vivido nunca, desde luego. Esperemos que mañana podamos hablar con ella y veremos si podemos descifrar esa conversación que han tenido en la puerta. Estábamos también en conexión con Yotuel Romero. Bueno, has podido presenciar lo que acaba de...
She's telling the interviewer they're telling her to come with them right now, the most polite death squad ever. I mean, they're not a death squad, but like it's still fucked up that they're arresting her. Probably for being a dissident, I assume. That's unacceptable, obviously. I don't know anything about this fucking channel. I don't know what... This is the issue. It's like, whenever stuff like this happens, it's like, this is a Spanish TV network. I have no idea what this is. This could literally be the fucking Newsmax of Spain. You know what I mean? This could literally be the Fox News of Spain that she's talking to. I don't know. Or it could be the CNN of Spain that she's talking to. So, like, that shit absolutely matters. You know what I mean? That's a huge part of this process. Bingo Turco? Yeah. Why would it matter? What do you mean, why would it matter, dude? Are you kidding me? I the same attitude goes for Telesur, too. When I fucking watch Telesur broadcasts, I'm like, well, this is going to be slanted in the... in favor of the government. Okay? Sorry, it's just the fucking truth. Of course it fucking matters. Are you meaning to tell me that if you never lived in America and someone sent you a news broadcast from Newsmax or whatever, OAN, do you think that would be an accurate description of what's going on in America? No, of course not. Yo, it's not. It's more like a mainstream neolib network. She says she was made the Cubano government responsible for anything that happens to her. Why do you keep clipping your stories mid-sentence? I don't know what you mean. Context matters, but a person swatting getting mid-interview is fucking wild regardless. Absolutely. But I don't know what she's saying. I don't know what this broadcast is. I need to know background information before I can, like, you know, make an assessment on what the fuck I need to know what they're saying first and foremost.
Do not come.
She's saying they just said to come with her and the other reporter hoping she'll be able to speak with her the next day? Oh, okay. The fucking news network that was advocating for natural selection. YouTuber Dina Starr is arrested by the Cuban police in the middle of a live interview. Why the fuck did they take her in custody?
Sinaloa, Mexico.
She has shown herself as a staunch opponent of the government of Miguel Diaz-Canel. In recent days, she participated in several interviews to tell what was happening on the island, which is currently going through the biggest protest against the executive since the 90s. In their social network, Stars has also called to participate in a new protest this Tuesday at the capital in Havana. The interview with Channel 4 in Spain, the YouTuber began making signs that something was wrong. Dina, you want to say something? The host of the program, Everything is a Lie? What the fuck? That's the name of the program? Here's some fucking anarchist. I saw this thread earlier. All right, if you think the so-called SOS Cuba protest came out of nowhere, you've been sleeping on the grassroots anti-police, anti-state movement. An anarchist, dude. Jesus Christ, literally just
anniversary. It's time to go crazy.
I'm sorry, okay, but like anarchists just, I don't know why they just happen to work with they just happen to always work with the CIA and shit like that, you know what I mean? Or whatever, whoever is like a big anarchist on Twitter always will have some like defense contracting background. It's just very weird, dude. I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know where. There's always some like weird shit that comes out about every fucking prominent anarchist on Twitter. Anyway, there are big anarchists on Twitter. Not big ones, but like, what's that one? The one that fucking, literally the one that was saying the Chapo to fascism pipeline, whatever her name is. You know what I'm talking about? There was that lady who kept saying like, there was that lady who was like saying Chapo, it turns you into fucking fascists. Gwen Schneider. Yeah. Oh God, this is so extremely online. Yeah. Gwen Schneider, famous prominent anarchist on Twitter, literally fucking worked with the government, dude. Anyway, there's an anti-police, anti-state movement that's been brewing across the island for the better of a year. Here's a timeline of events that those who have been following. Last year, a young rapper named Miguel Solis was arrested by the Cuban State Security. Solis is a member of a dissident art group called... Oh, I saw this. Okay. So there's an art group called the Movimiento San Isidro, formed after the government introduced repressive regulations on independent art exhibitions in 2018. They did some hunger strike to demand that dissident hip-hop artist Denis Solis to be freed after he received an 8-month prison sentence for disrespecting a police officer. Insane. Within a week of Solis's arrest, Cuba's broader artistic community mobilized to demand dialogue with the Ministry of Culture and expanded artistic freedoms. Between petitions, open letters, and protests, the outpouring was unprecedented. Effective use of social media, a relatively new phenomenon for everyday Cubans to broadcast the protest, led to a chorus of small demonstrations echoing across the island. Yeah, this is the future America wants, by the way. It's pretty funny that like conservatives would be like, free Cuba, brother, they're doing communism. And then like in Cuba, the people are protesting that you can't disrespect the fucking cop, you'll go to jail. But that's literally what American conservatives want, okay? What do you mean? Wait, hold on. Maybe this communism thing isn't so bad. Yeah, I want the scum, the criminal scum, to go to jail for disrespecting a cop. You see a cop, you suck his cock. You understand me? I see a cop, brother, I get down on my knees, I say, do your boots need a polishing, sir? And no, I do not mean with a sponge. I got this tongue right here that's ready to do licking. Okay? Finger licking good, brother. Amen. In a watershed moment, young protester named Luis Robles took to the streets of Havana with a homemade sign demanding freedom of expression when he was detained by the police. A giddy crowd surrounded the officers to defend the young man's rights. Okay, this like seems like regular protests happening in a country that has aggressive, very aggressive rules around freedom of information, freedom of expression, and also, I guess, the way to deal with cops, which is fucked up. But it's not like, it doesn't really strike me as like mass protests that are blowing the fuck up. But also, you know, once again, anarchists just... By this time, the train had left the station. Okay, I don't care about this, like, this stuff. Minister of Culture physically assaulted independent journalists who questioned him outside the minister's offices, saying his seizure was bold as voices call for his resignation. Yeah, this stuff is like, this guy is just doing a self-promo for his own, like, random thing that, his own, like, random movement that doesn't really seem that big. Yeah, bro, they're protesting because a fucking rapper got arrested, dude. Yeah, no, never mind. I don't, I mean, this could have been something that incited mass protests, right? But ultimately, the real reason why fucking Cubans, from what I understand, are protesting is because they feel like the government's not doing enough for them. That's it. They want food, they want medicine, and that's pretty much it. Like, that, what the fuck? And they want the government to not beat the shit out of them when they're protesting, which are incredibly reasonable things to demand. It's almost as if anarchists are not fond of authoritarian regimes, whether capitalist or communist. It's almost as if anarchists just fucking whine and cry and complain all the goddamn time. And the moment that they try to fucking build a commune or anything like that, it actually ends up reinforcing the same unjust hierarchies and structures that they ultimately wanted to fucking create, because there is a necessity for a policing force. But this time around, you don't have the proper training. And then you have the fucking Seattle zone that you, autonomous zone that you fucking created, where 2 black teenagers were still murdered regardless. But this time they were murdered by the hands of a security brigade that you had put together. Thank you, anarchist man, for giving me your incredible take. Also, anarchists in a situation like this, especially in a functionally leftist government that has been fucking placed under such rigorous control and embargoes that have made them lose like billions and billions and billions of dollars of fucking commodities in the process, turning around and creating a unique opportunity for the CIA to jump on that messaging and make it seem like there's a mass protest kind of seems not very leftist, my guy. I don't know. Hey, if you like unjustifiable hierarchies, how about you get, you know, the most unjustifiable hierarchy, the CIA coming in, murdering your fucking politicians, and then planting whatever fascist dictator that they would want to have there. Is Cuba actually communist? A communist state is like an oxymoron. And no, Cuba is not actually communist. They are closer to a socialist state than any other state, though. Cop, if you don't like it, why don't you leave? I like you here. I like Cuba just like you. Then why are you saying bad things about the revolution? That's your revolution. And my revolution, what you're doing to me right now, doesn't exist. I have a Cuban friend who's posting ACAP stuff because of this, and fascists are trying to claim this protest as their own. Okay, so here's the thing. I mean, they're right. People protesting police brutality deserve solidarity, okay? I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it's great that the cops are beating the shit out of people. Like, fuck you, okay? No, those people are counter-revolutionary. Even though these guys are a little bit counter-revolutionary, because they are being utilized as what's the proper word for this? It's a pawn, but the term I was looking for is a useful idiot. Yes. Considering Cuba has endured all the sanctions and embargoes for this long, wouldn't they still be considered a success story as far as social policies? Yes, it would. Anyway. On the ground, everyday Cubans were emboldened by the protests to confront the police, who like police anywhere, are notorious for harassing and humiliating poor and racialized people. As the repression steps up, Cuba's dissident youth movement is rapidly morphing into an anti-police upsurge. Below, rapper El Inva rolls out his new track, but Policia Pinga, fuck the police, taking its title from a popular street chant. Some lyrics translated below, ACAB. Meanwhile, the San Isidro folks took to direct action and civil disobedience to clown the state security apparatus and broadcast their actions through social media. Things really heated up when Michael Osorbo escaped from police custody with one hand cuffed and led to a chant, fuck Diaz Canal, through his neighborhood. Real gangsta shit. Very slick. This guy's just like promoting rap music, dude. This thread is just like all fucking... I feel like all of this is just like, yo, check out this fucking fire mixtape, dude. And here we are today. So these are poor racialized folks, all mindless dupes of a CIA plot. I know that's easy to answer. I know that's an easy answer. Of course they're not. But it's wrong. Is the CIA... lucking its lips and throwing gasoline on the fire? Obviously. So what can we do? Demand an immediate end to the blockade, mobilize against any attempt at U.S. government intervention, repudiate any appearance of co-optation by the vultures of the Miami oligarchy, and respect the righteous anger of the Cuban people. Remember, if the Miami oligarchs had their way, the people on the ground protesting would still be in chains cutting sugarcane on their haciendas. They don't give a fuck about the Cuban people. They don't let them act like they do. Okay, I mean, he salvages it in the end. He's right. U.S. agency infiltrated the Cuban hip-hop scene to spark youth unrest. Are you serious? Investigations find U.S. aid recruited musicians to break information blockade as a part of covert social project. Hip-hop has emerged as the latest covert weapon in the U.S. government's hapless attempts to unseat Cuba's communist government.
17 months.
Like its previous efforts, including exploding cigars, Cuban Twitter, and the botched Bay of Pigs invasion, the attempt to co-op rappers ended in an ignominious failure. New documents have shown. Well, apparently, it's still happening, boys. Chill. For more than 2 years, the American Development Aid Organization, USAID, USCIAID, has been secretly trying to infiltrate Cuba's underground hip-hop movement, according to records obtained by the Associated Press. The idea was to use Cuba's rappers to break the information blockade and build a network of young people seeking social change to spark a youth movement against the government of President Raul Castro. The operation followed a familiar pattern to other tactics in America's secret war in Cuba. It was amateurish and profoundly unsuccessful. On at least 6 occasions, Cuban authorities detained or interrogated people involved in the operation. They also confiscated computer hardware, which in some cases contained information that endangered Cubans who are thought to have had no idea that they were caught up in the clandestine program. The USAID operation also ended up compromising Cuba's vibrant hip-hop culture, which has produced some of the hardest hitting grassroots criticism since Fidel Castro came to power in 1959. The secret is out. The U.S. built Cuban Twitter to stir up political unrest. I remember this. Yeah, I remember that. I know that they like wanted to do a... I remember when they tried to fucking build a Cuban Twitter, basically, so they could, you know... It's kind of funny, though, because, like, under our free market capitalist design, you can have other countries come in and just buy ads, right? And start literally breaking the brains of all of our body politique, basically. Like, conservatives will literally just, like, lose their shit and start believing more and more in, like, QAnon conspiracies. Meanwhile, America's trying to do that in Cuba and fucking failing to do so. Partially because they don't have the same freedom of information that we do here. Having said that, though, I still do believe that freedom of information is a necessity. Dude, the CIA fucking sucks, dude. What happened? The CIA's like fucking Stan Twitter at this point. Like, can't do shit to real racists, so they just go after their own fucking content creators, you know, to get like a half-assed apology. And then, you know, they'll pat their backs, be like, yeah, we defeated racism. Hell yeah, dude. Where's the old CIA? I mean, actually, when you think about it, like, old CIA, incredibly efficient, incredibly deadly, and murdered a bunch of, like, you know, black revolutionary Americans. You know what I mean? Thank God that they suck now. Please don't push the bumbling empire lie. I mean, America is still incredibly efficient and incredibly brutal. Don't get me wrong. But it is kind of funny that, like, there's a lot of shit that they miss, dude. I mean, even the Haitian assassination, right? At first I was like, this is probably not an American op. And I still don't know if it's an American op or not, because the person that they murdered in Haiti is an American puppet. Sure, he didn't want to leave power, but he was still a neoliberal American puppet. That was like the guy that was their guy. Freedom is everything. We support the Cuban people in their fight for freedom in Cuba. Libertad ya viene llegando. Eso es Cuba. Dude, he's Mr. Worldwide, dude. You know what else is worldwide?
Dad,
the CIA. Here's the thing, man. Here's the thing.
CIA has entered the chat.
There is absolutely zero reason to have a fucking embargo on Cuba. Like, there is no reason to have it. Okay? We're not in the fucking 60s, dude. What are we doing? How is this still even remotely justifiable? Like, I don't give a fuck about anything else other than, you know, why, other than looking for an answer to why there is still an embargo on Cuba. Like, that makes why? That makes no sense. Yeah, Pitbull went from Mr. Worldwide to Mr. Global North. Oh, that's funny. Why do you think he's called anyone who has fled Cuba a gusano? Like, sorry, my family didn't want to starve. Okay. This is a point of contention for a lot of people. The term gusanex, okay? Or gusano. I know that this is like something that people are very upset about. Not every single person that left Cuba is incredibly wealthy. But a lot of the people that originally left Cuba are. And left Cuba specifically because their lands were being seized and their slaves were being freed. That's where that concept comes from. And gusano is just means worm in Spanish. I talked about this yesterday.
You've gotten me through a lot since I've started watching you. Thanks for doing what you're
It's
doing.
the people that fled because they were wealthy and did not want they did not like that their wealth was being taken from them. Their land was being taken from them. Okay? It's not like an ethnic slur. I don't know why people say like it's a fucking ethnic slur. It's just not. It's literally the same as like,
and stay hydrated, and most importantly, know you are loved.
like if you're
Also,
fucking
hi,
a
Hasan, I
rich
guess.
political dissident against a socialist country. Like it's not. That's what it means.
The embargo is still in place because we are sore losers and
Like-
petty bitches.
It's like crying about the term cracker. Now, is it being misappropriated? Do like white leftists use it randomly on anyone that they consider to be like Cuban or of Cuban descent, no matter if they're like the Elizabeth Warren of being Cuban? Yeah, they do, because they're fucking white leftists. They don't know any better. They think it's like a cool new term that they fucking found, and they're just like dropping it. But to claim that this is like the same as you know, the N-word or something like that is fucking ridiculous. Good luck. Hopefully you can build a mass momentum, a mass movement by like, I don't know, reaching out to like Anna Navarro or something and start crying about that term. But I mean, the people asking for freedom in Cuban streets because of the authoritarian government aren't rich. No, I know there's a difference. It's almost like there are a bunch of different groups within a country that want different things, some of which are completely reasonable and others that are not. Shocking. I know. Yeah, I know everybody wants like a fun little Disney story about like, here are the evil people and here are the good people, okay? But it doesn't work that way. It's like saying redneck is an ethnic slur or cracker is an ethnic slur. Like TERFs, Karen. Like there are always going to be language that the oppressed people create as a pejorative against those who would advocate for their further oppression and continued oppression. Would you not consider Cuba a police state, especially at this point, given police beating and shooting protesters, shutting down the internet, forcing teenage boys from their homes and forcing them to fight against protesters, etc.? I don't know. Some of this stuff that you're mentioning, just, I don't know what the fuck that is, okay? But no, what Cuba is doing is exactly what every other fucking country does, and it is not good, and it is wrong, okay? And they shouldn't do it as far as, like, beating protesters. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? Cuba has always controlled the internet, and it's literally one of my main criticisms of Cuba. But a far larger concern, in my opinion, for Cuba, a far larger problem within Cuba right now is the insane fucking restrictions that the American state has placed upon them that literally stop Cubans living in America from even giving appropriate funds to Cubans living back in Cuba. That shit is unacceptable. The only kinds of wealth and funds that make their way back to Cuba are suspiciously made through U.S. aid and like can't go to government agencies and have to go to non-government agencies. And that's fucking bullshit. And that's not a Cuba problem. That's the America problem. Cuba can't solve that. America has to solve that. And the reason why Cuba has always been a threat is unfortunately very similar to the reason why Haiti has always been considered a threat historically to American capitalist hegemony. And that problem is, if you can show and demonstrate that a country can be successful without cooperating in the same systems, without cooperating or with while simultaneously having a more social democratic, or dare I say socialist mode of production, then that is a genuine viable threat. It's in our backyard. And with Haiti, it was a slave rebellion, a successful slave rebellion, the most successful slave rebellion in the West. You can't have that work, because then it would destroy the socialism never works takes that you have cultivated. And you can't have Haiti work, because then it's like you basically have to admit that, like, you know, a black country can have autonomy. If America were to offer, if America were to lift the sanctions, lift the embargo, allow Cuba to participate in global trade, right? Allow Cuba to fucking build whatever infrastructure they need to build to have as robust an internet as they possibly can, it would perhaps make it easier for the CIA to even do their infiltration and run their campaigns. But they don't want to do that. That's why they have to engage in hip-hop war and fake Twitter by way of USCI aid. Anyway, let's watch what Biden had to say about Cuba, and then Marco Rubio.
Demonstrators in Cuba, after thousands of people took to the streets in one of the country's biggest protests in decades. They are angry over the worsening economic crisis on the island. Now, this comes as a Biden administration.
I saw a take on Twitter that I'm just going to steal. I forget who said it, but it's like, waving the American flag at a protest like this is literally the equivalent of calling the cops. You're like, dude, please come here and fuck everything up, okay? We need you to come here. Well, the reality is, though, what they fail to recognize is if the cops come, they're going to fuck them up, too. They don't realize that.
Reviews its policy toward the communist nation, including whether to ease or maintain economic sanctions. Manuel Bojorquez is in Miami with more on this story. Good morning to you, Manny. What has been the reaction there?
Well, good morning, Gail. The protests have continued here in Miami's Little
Oh my God, is he fucking filming this from a toilet or something? How is that?
Havana neighborhood. But because the internet has been cut in Cuba, it's hard to know the extent of additional protests there. What is clear is the situation is putting pressure on the Biden administration to define its Cuba policy.
We call on the government of Cuba to refrain from violence or attempts to silence the voice of the people of Cuba.
President Biden on Monday said the U.S. stood with Cuban protesters.
I don't think we've seen anything like this protest in a long, long time.
The comments came a day after thousands of Cubans poured into the streets, protesting against the communist government, triggered by food shortages, rising prices, and the government's response to rising COVID infections. Thousands in Miami have joined in solidarity. Havana-born Damir Perez came to Florida a decade ago and says he's optimistic the protests will fuel change.
We've been fighting this fight for a long time now. We have never seen it in 62 years of dictatorship in Cuba.
But in Havana, it was mostly quiet again by Monday. Police were seen patrolling the streets. Cuban authorities appear to have blocked access to social media sites like Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. Dozens of people have been reportedly arrested in the protests, including journalists. Many demonstrators were also injured in clashes with police and pro-government activists.
This shit is unacceptable, right? Obviously. Like, I'm never gonna fucking side with police brutality against peaceful protesters. They're using footage from pro-revolutionary protesters? What do you mean? No, it's fucking hilarious that these motherfuckers are like showing police brutality. Okay, and it's CBS this morning. At least they had a positive coverage on like BLM for the most part. But it's hilarious that they're showing police brutality and like the conservatives are like, unacceptable. We need to liberate these Cubans. It's like, motherfucker, you literally last year, you were arguing to murder black people on the streets. And now you're like, I can't believe police brutality is happening. Bro, this is literally a light fucking slap in comparison to the tear gas, rubber bullets, and like, and all the other kettling, corralling actions that the American police engage in on a regular basis. Like, this is not a defense. It's still unacceptable regardless, right? But holy fuck, this authoritarian communist country seems really pleasant in comparison to what the fuck is going on in America on a regular basis, dude.
Many demonstrators were also injured in clashes with police and pro-government activists. President Miguel Díaz-Canel blamed Cuba's economic turmoil on the U.S. trade embargo. The Biden administration pushed back on any notion the U.S. was responsible for the protests.
These are protests inspired by the harsh reality of everyday life in Cuba, not people in another country.
One indication of the mounting discontent in Cuba is the uptick, I should say, in the number of migrants arriving here in Florida by boat, risking their lives despite no longer having an automatic legal pathway to remain in this country. Adriana?
Manny, thank you. You know, one of the things people were chanting, the protesters in Manny's piece, was Patria y Vida, which is homeland and life. And that's a play on the communist slogan, Patria or muerte, which is homeland or death. So people are saying it's not enough just to have our homeland. We need to live well.
Yeah. You've been there.
Yeah, I reported on the normalization of relations in 2014 and 2015 for CBS. And things are so different now because 3G arrived at the country in 20...
Bro, are you going to address how the food shortages are caused by rampant corruption and failed socialist farming policies? Or just continue to insinuate that America is responsible for everything wrong in Cuba? Dude, I love this take. Brother, let's say you're correct. Let's say you're completely correct that like it's failed farming because it's communism, right? Except in America, one of the closest systems that we have to communism is literally our fucking agricultural production, which is heavily subsidized, right up there with like central planning. That plays a fundamental role in our extraction industry as well. But hey, let's forget about that for a second. Let's say that you are correct, that like this incredibly horrible, corrupt, authoritarian government is like fucking up everything and like, you know, fucking up agriculture, right? Let's say that's true. And why the fuck do you need an embargo, brother? They're already fucking it up. Let them fuck it up. It almost feels like America feels the need to tilt the scales for some reason. That's really strange to me. Going forward, if you want to criticize Cuba, you have to advocate to lift the embargo, okay? That's it. Straight up, lift all embargoes, normalize relationships with Cuba, behave like Cuba is a normal fucking country, and we can move on from that point, okay? Like, it's nuts to me. The reason why I see Cuba as a success story, which will trigger a lot of fucking Cubans living in Miami and shit because, like, you know, their parents fucking absolutely despise the current administration there. But, like, the reason why I see it as a success story is because they've been able to persevere through insanity, okay? That's nuts. It absolutely is a success story. It's not a success story. It's a success story for all of the factors considered. I get shot on by a lot of people in Miami for having this exact take. Yeah, I mean, those people are fucking psychos, man. Look, if you're a young Cuban, you already know this. Unfortunately, a lot of fucking Cubans are absolutely psychopathic reactionaries, dude. They are QAnon supporting Trump supporters. Like, what do you want? Like, well, now we're propping those people up as though they're like very sane and making really correct takes about what's going on. But like last year, everyone was like, what's up with these Latinos? What's up with these brown folk? These Latinx? You know, believing in QAnon and being such a big fan of Donald Trump. Like, what happened? Those are the same people. The only time that the Cuban population has voted in favor of a Democrat was Barack Obama. Okay? And the only reason why a majority of Cubans voted for Barack Obama was because Barack Obama was able to activate younger Cubans. That's it. Outside of that, they are straight up like Cubans as a population, their voting patterns are super reactionary and they love Republicans. They're Republicans. And any Cuban that tells you that's not the truth is fucking lying, okay? Latinos in America, with the exception of Cubans, are unironic. With the exception of Cubans and Venezuelans living in America, Latinos in America are some of the most pro-fucking leftist voting blocks in this country. They are very conservative when it comes to social issues. They might be homophobic. They might be fucking downright racist. They might have a bunch of reactionary attitudes from Catholicism, right? Having said that, though, especially Chicanos, having said that, though, older demographics of Latinos who may hold on to these like anti-abortion takes and fucking, you know, homophobia or bigotry of every fucking sort are literally categorically the most supportive of big government initiatives. Okay? Like there are plenty of studies conducted on this. If you don't believe me, ask the Republicans. The GOP head of outreach in Texas, which is the main guy who knows exactly how to fucking do outreach to the Latino population, has said time and time again that Texas, the reason, the way that they control Texas with even with the increase in immigration into Texas. Yeah, I have talked about this. Here's the facts. Okay, is by never focusing on government initiatives, never talking about small government when you're doing outreach to Latinos living in Texas, and always focusing on Christianity. Come on, we're the real Christians, like you. You're the real Christians, and we're the real Christians. Abortion. If the Texas Democrats, on the other hand, hyper focused on the actual things that like even older Latinos want, then they would do a lot better. Some 75% of Hispanics hold this view. Just 19 say they prefer a smaller government. By contrast, just 41% of the public at large voice support for a bigger government. Support for larger government is the highest among immigrant Latinos, with 81% holding this view, dude. 81%. This share falls 72% among second-generation Hispanics and 58% among third-generation Hispanics. What are the neolib talking points for defending the embargo at this point? I don't know. I actually don't fucking know what the defense of the embargo is. It's just that people don't care. That's the reality. People don't care about the protests happening in Cuba one way or the other. The only way that, outside of like actual Cubans, the real reason why people are having this conversation over and over again is because you can make a fucking political point against communism, okay? Or what you consider to be communist. That is the only reason why people fucking talk about this. And that's why you hear the exact same takes from people like Joe Biden and also Marco Rubio, okay? That's it. These people don't give a fuck about what happens to Cuban people. If they did, they would lift the embargoes immediately, okay?
Reaction. Florida Senator Marco Rubio. You know, Senator, by the way, I mean what I say. First things first here. The Castro brothers, this is a murdering communist dictatorship. Again,
I talked about this yesterday, but like, it's a murderous communist dictatorship, murderous communist dictatorship. America has consistently murdered more and will continue to murder more for the rest of fucking time, okay? The previous Batista administration, that was a dictatorship, authoritarian, fascist dictatorship, killed more than 20,000 people, according to the CIA, in a matter of the 7-year time span that it was around, okay? The Castro regime did not reach anywhere near those numbers in fucking the 60 plus years that they were fucking in power, okay? Nowhere near those numbers. So this notion that like, oh, dude, it was so bad. They were fucking murdering people all the time. It's like, dude, it's kind of weird that America is like literally having this conversation.
It always has been. From the very beginning, they stole land, they oppressed people, and none of the promises given to the people were ever fulfilled. That's first on the table. You last night had to embarrass. It's 8:30, still no word from Joe. It's 10:30, still no word from Joe. And then this tepid, pathetic statement that he sends out today. And
this is exactly the same energy as like criticizing Joe Biden for his unconditional support to Israel. He gave unconditional support, stole land, by the way. Notice how he said he stole land. Who did he steal land from? You motherfucker. This is literally, okay, hold on. Let me describe something here, okay? It was absolutely unacceptable of the federal government to come in to the South and change the way of life of Southerners and their heritage and steal their property. Completely unacceptable. Abolishing slavery. That's the way to describe abolishing fucking slavery in the United States, okay? What he's talking about is literally stealing land and freeing fucking slaves, dude. He's currently talking about stealing plantation lands and expropriating it for everyone, nationalizing it, and taking slave plantations and like freeing fucking slaves, stealing land from slavers. It's the type of shit. It's not just only plantations. No, of course not. It's the type of shit that we should have done in America, motherfucker. Instead of giving reparations to the slavers, because those are the people that actually got reparations in the United States of America, a fucking stain that lives on in American history. We should have just taken the fucking land. Some instances, plantations were offered to the slaves that were newly liberated. It was a short-lived Reconstruction period. But this conversation is currently being had in South Africa as well, by the way. 90% of the viable land in South Africa is still owned by white people, which make up less than 10% of the population. Okay? Neoliberal capitalists love to call that a land grab, okay? It is a function of a government that wants to create more equity for all of its fucking citizens. It's bullshit, dude. Absolutely fucking bullshit.
30, still no word from Joe. It's 10:30, still no word from Joe. And then this tepid...
Again, same energy as people fucking crying about Joe Biden not literally assassinating like a Palestinian child on camera. Okay? He did everything. He did everything you could. Exactly what Donald Trump would have done for Israel. Just didn't use the same fucking words. And Republicans were still fucking crying about it. It's like, that's ridiculous. Marco Rubio and Joe Biden's takes were identical on Cuba. Shut the fuck up, Sean Hannity.
Pathetic statement that he sends out today, and then his spokespeople at the State Department and the White House lying and saying this is about COVID. That was an outright lie, Senator. You forced their hand to even say anything.
I don't know why it's so hard for them to criticize Marxists. Look, I do think, and it's pretty clear.
Yeah, it's so hard to criticize Marxists, dude. Yeah, totally. Our state apparatus certainly isn't involved in disruption operations. There isn't already a fucking horrible sanction and embargo process in Cuba.
Dig the now, says Pog.
Donald Trump added a fuckload of sanctions onto Cuba. If I'm not mistaken, Donald Trump added a fuckload of additional sanctions on Cuba on his way out. And if I'm not mistaken, Joe Biden did not lift those sanctions, okay? So much for normalizing relationships with Cuba and, like, you know, going back to the Obama era. House Democrats call on Biden to lift Trump's Cuba sanctions as its regime faces growing Democratic protests. Yeah, let me tell you something, okay? This conversation about Cubans protesting more autonomy or Cubans protesting for less police brutality, great. More power to them, okay? But if you ask most Cubans living in fucking Cuba, I'm certain that they would probably feel like the American sanctions are significantly worse than anything the fucking government is doing to them. Also, Donald Trump is remarkably orange. Even fucking Florida Cubans, for the most part, believe that. My statement is this, okay? There could be some negative consequences. It could be easier for private capital influence to try to turn Cuba into many of these, like, post-revolutionary countries, right? East Germany, to think of one example, or many of the, like, post-Soviet bloc countries as another example. Having said that, though, I would rather, I would rather have that and have people, have access to medical supplies and food with ease that they're literally fucking paying for than anything else. Now, on top of that, though, my debate for the reactionaries that watch me, or what you can tell reactionaries, is if communism is destined to fail, then let them fucking fail. You don't need to tilt the scales in favor of failing communism by putting a fucking embargo. You understand what I'm saying now? Like, just, you know, whenever people says like, that's fucked up, dude, what the fuck? Like, I'd be like, yeah, you're right, dude. I hate socialism. I think socialism shouldn't exist, which is why I think they should lift the fucking embargo so the invisible hand of the market can like absolutely dumpster and dumpster socialism and give Cuba the wonderful capitalist revolution that they deserve, you know? Just let it happen. Just lift it, pussy. You won't.
Cruel U.S. embargo.
Airstrikes in Cuba are now being floated on the news TV channel.
A repressive government and a cruel U.S. embargo. They deserve policies that empower them and help them improve their lives. Do you think that President Biden, looking at this situation, will lift that embargo? And do you think that's what he should do?
No, I don't think the embargo is cruel at all. And I think that the Cuban people are not asking for a lifting of the embargo. They're going out on the streets every single day talking about the failure of the communist regime to provide for its people. And I don't understand why that's so difficult for people to understand. It has failed for 6 decades. And what should be being contemplated right now is a coalition, a potential military action in Cuba, similar to what has happened in both administrations, in both Republican and Democrat administrations. In Republican with Bush in Panama, they deposed Noriega, and that country had peaceful democracy for decades. And you had interventions by Democratic presidents, taking out Osama bin Laden in Pakistan. It's a sovereign country where they took out a terrorist that probably saved thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives.
Bro, that happened already, dude. Okay, I need to know what the fuck this dude's like deal is, dude. Francis. What's his dad do? What does this dude's dad do? That's what I need to know, okay? He was the first Cuban-born mayor of Miami. Oh my God, his dad was the fucking mayor of Miami too. God damn it, I hate this country so much. Oh yeah, dude. Oh my fucking God, dude.
Woe 1 year.
And
Love
President Clinton in Kosovo intervening in a humanitarian issue with airstrikes. So there have been many opportunities in the history.
Are you suggesting airstrikes in Cuba?
Wait a minute. This protest footage that they're showing has... Wait, this is a fucking pro-revolution protest. Oh my God. Oh my God. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? The protest B-roll that they're using on Fox News is literally a pro-revolution protest, dude. Is that actually a recent one too, or is that like an old one, dude? Wait. What the fuck? Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. They're literally using anti-government protest. Bro, this is literally a pro-government protest. This is literally a pro-government protest. Okay, chatters. That chatter was right. Apologize to him now. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, that chatter was right. The 26th of July movement is a Cuban vanguard revolutionary organization and is the political party led by Fidel Castro. The movement's name commemorates his 26th of July 1953 attack on the army barracks on Santiago de Cuba in an attempt to start overthrowing the dictator Fulgencio Batista. So people that are waving the fucking... It's like literally the equivalent of waving a Fidel Castro photo, which they might literally have right there. If I were able to zoom in to that, I wonder if that's actually a fucking Castro photo that they're holding up. Oh my God, dude. Oh my fucking God. Anti-government protesters gathered on Maximo Gomez Monument in Havana, Cuba on Sunday. That's nuts, dude. So what are those people protesting about? I think there are also mass protests happening right now in the country that revolve around lifting the embargoes as well. Like people are genuinely fucking criticizing the government because they're not getting fucking food and they're not getting medical supplies. But a big part of the issue revolves around not having access to, like, for example, syringes. You know what I mean? Lift the embargo then. So no matter what you tell me, lift the embargo. I think we can all agree on that, right?
What I'm suggesting is that option is one that has to be explored and cannot be just simply discarded as an option that is not on the table. And there's a variety of ways the military can do it, but that's something that needs to be discussed and needs to be looked at as a potential option in addition to a variety of other options.
Wait, why is this? What are they holding up? Why aren't they showing what was being said on this?
That can be discussed.
Yeah.
6 months.
Wait, why did they block this? What does this mean? It says the streets are of the revolution, a pro-revolution quote. So why is it? So why did they fucking blur that? Do you guys think? Why did Fox News blur that?
Did your like really hot?
That's so strange, dude. Hold on. Let me just take a look at something here. So,
what I'm suggesting is a way.
So Fox News. So you mean to tell me that Fox News unironically aired
with air
like anti-Cuba protest footage that was actually pro-fucking pro-revolution. They literally have the 26 Julio flags up. That's a pro-Castro protest. Okay. And then they also showed more fucking footage.
I made it
and
to
they
a year.
and they fucking
proud of me.
And they blurred the actual writing on there because you could read it.
If you are
they blurred the footage that says these streets belong to the revolution. Anyway, I'm glad that we can all agree though that we should lift the embargo. So, let's get to Texas. Or should I watch Tommy Lauren about Cuba? I'm done. I think I've talked enough about Cuba up and down. It's like really fucking boring.
On the front lines of a fierce battle over restrictive voting laws, and the confrontation is escalating. Dozens of Democrats in the state legislature bolted to Washington, D.C. yesterday to protest controversial Republican efforts to overhaul election laws. They say they'll stay there for weeks. Now, Governor Greg Abbott is threatening arrests. Ed O'Keefe was at the D.C. airport when the Democratic lawmakers arrived.
We shall overcome. More than 50 Texas House Democrats arrived in the Washington area last night aboard a pair of private jets after fleeing a special session of the Texas legislature called to address about a dozen issues, including changes to state elections laws.
There is nothing special about this special session. This is a suppression session. We're not going to put up with that. Democracy is on the line. The eyes of the nation are on Texas.
Texas Democrats killed a similar Republican-backed elections bill in May by walking out in the closing minutes of the regular session. So Governor Greg Abbott and Republicans are trying again. Their proposals would eliminate drive-through and 24-hour early voting used for the first time last year in the predominantly Democratic Houston area. They would also expand early voting hours to some medium-sized counties, add ID requirements for voting by mail.
God damn it, this is literally communism. Just like in Cuba. This is what happened in Cuba, boys. This is exactly what's going on, okay? Completely fucked up. Expanding on voting rights, brother? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? That's actually communism, Marxism, brother.
And give more powers to partisan poll watchers. Last night, Abbott called the Democrats quitters.
It's like during a football game or a baseball game, taking their equipment when they're way behind and just leaving the field. That is not the way.
It's fucking bullshit, okay? Democrats, for the first time ever, are demonstrating an actual power that they have. Just because they're fucking down and out. Just because just because they have a like, this is one of the best things that Democrats have done anywhere. Okay, they're forcing procedural rules to benefit them. This is exactly what I mean when I say Democrats should behave like Republicans. It's great. It's a wonderful thing that they're doing. I'll take it one step further.
I vote to push Greg
I
Abbott
think
down a flight of stairs with
Joe
no
Biden
seatbelt kept.
should stand with them. Joe Biden should do this as well. Okay? Joe Biden should absolutely stand in solidarity with the Democrats that are protesting this insane fucking bill that is going to restrict voting rights that were expanded on.
That Texans do things.
And I also have to admit, like, let me tell you something. Whether you think both parties are the same or not, it doesn't matter. Like, Democrats are currently doing this to stop additional voter suppression from passing by way of Texas legislature, right? Whereas when Republicans fucking do this exact same thing, like they did in Oregon, it's for, like, blocking climate change bills and shit, dude. So this is one area where the Democrats are unironically doing the right thing and on the right side.
And he said they will face legal consequences.
Once they step back into the state of Texas, they will be arrested and brought to the Texas Capitol, and we will be conducting business.
To constituents who elected you to do a job, and to be in Austin and debate these issues, and they see you leaving the state today, and may think they're running away from their responsibilities.
Man, I must go to Indeed.com and slide the salary range all the way to the right.
The fuck, dude?
Nothing could be further from the truth. We're not going to sit in Austin, in the House chamber, and watch the Republican majority steamroll the voting rights of our constituents. So we're fighting back. We're leaving, so they can't do that.
How long will you be here in Washington?
Well, our intention is to be out of Texas until...
I told you, dude, yeah. Oregon Senate Republicans literally did this. I just told you this, chatter, but thank you for sending me the link. But yeah, Oregon Senate Republicans left the state to avoid a climate bill vote, dude. They literally did not want, like, a climate change bill to go through, so they just did this exact same thing. So Republicans do this shit too. But they do it for horrible dog shit. Like, they're like, oh, we can't have a climate change bill destroy the economy. Thank you for helping, chatter. I don't know why I came across as aggro towards you. Yeah, remember when the Oregon GOP senator on governor sending police send bachelors and come heavily armed? Yeah. The Oregon senator was like, we're going to fucking send cops to come arrest you and, like, you know, force you to do your job. And they said, send bachelors and come heavily armed because we're going to fucking murder the cops. So good on them for doing this. And I really do hope that Joe Biden actually lends support to the Democrats in their endeavor here to stop the Republicans from passing this.
This session is over.
And if he calls another one right away?
Oh, the other thing, the real pettiness here is that, yeah, Greg Abbott actually vetoed the funding for Texas legislature and his staff as a punishment for Democrats walking out on the elections bill. So now 3,000 jobs, like 3,000 people are not able to get pay. So that's the other part of it. So if you think something is petty, it's fucking this shit. I forgot to mention that.
In the gym because of your
GOP, Joe Biden did actually lend support. I'm going to show you that in a second. Let's finish this real quick.
That's our message to Congress. We need them to act now because they will keep calling these sessions to pass voter suppression legislation.
Trigger warning, Ted Cruz. I'm sorry to do this to you guys. Trigger warning.
What you're seeing the Democrats do here is a political stunt. And, you know, I will say it's ironic. As they were getting on their private jet to fly to Washington, D.C., they almost surely had to show identification to get on that jet. And yet they're doing this in a fit because they don't want mail-in ballots to be verified. They don't want the signatures to be verified. They don't want basic integrity.
Signature verification is a tool utilized by people to actually yeet people, like actual legitimate voters, off of voter ballots. All of these kinds of restrictions that they're adding on seem like they're being added on for the integrity, to preserve the integrity of our elections. But our elections surprisingly are have a lot of integrity for those who have the capability of voting. Okay? That's precisely why there is no fucking evidence to show that there has been significant voter fraud in any number of elections. And as a matter of fact, the only American Enterprise Institute, Heritage Foundation study conducted on voter fraud, the most extensive, most exhaustive study conducted from a right-wing think tank, literally disproves that point that these guys are always trying to make. Okay? In this country, we have a problem with people not voting, not the other way around. We don't have too many people voting. We have a problem with not enough people voting. Okay? Shut the fuck up, Ted Cruz. Also,
Just got here and Ted
add
Cruz
insult to
was on
injury
screen.
here. It's
Need to
Cancun
trigger
Cruz
warning
talking about
trigger.
leaving the state of Texas. At least those dudes are leaving the state of Texas in an effort to stop a political process that will end up disproportionately hurting the people of
Happy 5
Texas.
months, you
You
commie
left Texas to go to fucking
3.14.
Cancun when your goddamn state's power grid was fucking destroyed. Okay? Suck my dick.
Steps to be strengthened in the state of Texas. This is, at the end of the day, politics, and they need to get back to doing their jobs. And one way or the other, they will. What you're seeing, the Democrats.
There's also additional parts of the legislature's like criticisms as well. All right, we're done with the Ted Cruz portion here.
You talk a lot about manufacturing consent, but why don't you manufacture my Cuban grandma a new fucking blender? She needs to me some horchata.
Oh,
If they are
that's
gonna try to
good.
arrest Dems for leaving, won't they have to arrest Cruz then for leaving during the snowstorm?
Wait, what the fuck is this, dude? Oh my God, Fox News is fucking insane. Okay, we're gonna get to that in a second, though. I do want to talk about additional details on this. Does anyone have the Joe Biden speech? Like, there were parts of the Joe Biden speech that I was gonna talk about. Oh, here's Governor Greg Abbott talking about Texas.
In addition to that, what the House of Representatives can do, the Speaker can do.
So bad.
Call to have these members arrested. In addition to that, however, I can and I will continue to call special session after special session after special session all the way up until election next year. And so if these people want to be hanging out wherever they're hanging out on this taxpayer-paid junket, they're going to have to be prepared to do it for well over a year. As soon as they come back in the state of Texas, they will be arrested. They will be cabined inside the Texas Capitol until they get their job done. What the House of Representatives can do, the Speaker can do.
Okay,
More
here.
than 150 Americans of every age, of every race, of every background exercise their right to vote.
I gotta pee. I'll be back.
They voted early. They voted absentee. They voted in person. They voted by mail. They voted by Dropbox. And then they got their families and friends to go out and vote.
You did it, Hassan.
Election officials, the entire electoral system withstood unrelenting political attacks, physical threats, intimidation, and pressure. They did so with unyielding courage and faith in our democracy. With recount after recount after recount, court case after court case, the 2020 election was the most scrutinized election ever in American history. Challenge after challenge brought to local, state, and election officials, state legislatures, state and federal courts, even to the United States Supreme Court not once but twice. More than 80 judges, including those appointed by my predecessor, heard the arguments. In every case, neither cause nor evidence was found to undermine the national achievement of administering the historic election in the face of such extraordinary challenges. Audits, recounts were conducted. In Arizona and Wisconsin, in Georgia, it was recounted 3 times. It's clear. For those who challenge the results and question the integrity of the election, no other election has ever been held under such scrutiny and such high standards. The big lie is just that, a big lie.
Cut the malarkey, Jack!
At
Cut the
Hasanabi
goddamn
tomorrow is my
malarkey,
birthday.
gosh
Can I
darn
get
it.
an early happy birthday from you?
Am I the only one who thinks the big lie is like kind of shitty marketing? I feel like it's like very emotional, the way that they're just saying like it's not the big lie. I mean, they always lie in the exact same way. You know what I mean? I find it real cringe. The big lie. It's like, what? I mean, they've been lying like exactly in the same exact way for a very long time. It's not new. Why are you making it seem like it's new for the Republicans? Not the first time that they fucking lied about election integrity. Yeah, the Biden stuff is boring. Let's get to some fun stuff. Fox News talking about slavery. This will be good.
Yeah, because they're very invested in this whole idea that the nation was founded on the idea of systemic racism, that it's built into every single institution in America, even in the military. Folks are worried that this is something that they need to address within the military. And we just did a story about how the Navy is underprepared right now, but they're spending a heck of a lot of time on this. What do you think about that?
It's absolutely absurd because nobody really wants to get the real history of it. America was not founded on racism. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, there was slavery going on, but slavery itself was not initially a racist thing. It never was about race initially. So to sit there and take it like America was founded.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, there was slavery going on, but slavery itself was not initially a racist thing. It
Oh, dude. Dude, what the fuck, dude? Called a jobs program. That's what that was. People are being crazy right now.
never was about race initially. So to sit there and take it like America was founded on racism, it's a complete lie.
Dude, why is it always people on the conservative side railing against CRT that like unironically need whatever the fuck Republicans consider to be CRT, dude? Guys, this is literally the Candace Owens take where she was like, Hitler originally was just trying to make Germany great. But Hitler was just a nationalist. But when he became a globalist, that's when it became a problem. It's like slavery originally wasn't racist. You know, and then what? Initially it wasn't racist and then it got racist? Like there was non-racist slavery happening. This is so good.
Yeah, there was slavery going on, but slavery was going on.
I love whenever people say there were white slaves, brother. There were white slaves. It's like,
slavery
dog,
is not racist,
indentured
bro.
servitude. Okay,
Bro,
indentured
please,
servitude
bro, please,
is different
please.
than the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, it's still fucking horrible and bad, but you're ridiculous. You're a ridiculous person.
In all the world, it never was a race thing. So why are we making it a race thing now?
Ty Smith, thank you for being here. Good to
Thank you for your wonderful words. Of course, the other part of the irony is like, oh, well, slavery wasn't just black people. Irish people were slaves. Or Asian people were enslaved. It's like, yeah, dude. Do you think they were considered white at the time? No. So, no, it was still, like, it still absolutely was considered, like, as second-class citizens that they enslaved. But regardless, it was still indentured servitude. You could finish out your contract. Still incredibly unethical. Do not get me wrong. Still fucking a humanitarian abuse. But there is literally a reason for why it is considered to be something different than chattel slavery. And that is because a black slave had no opportunity for freedom. Whereas indentured servitude implied that once the end of your contract, you could actually buy your freedom. People could buy your freedom for you. People could actually, your children were not enslaved automatically.
Being racist towards them.
It's still fucked up. It's still horrifying. But there's a reason why it's different.